Hello everyone. Welcome to the new session of Morphology of the Flowering Plant. So this is the second session, and in this session we are going to study about the flower, the inflorescence. Okay, so let us start with that. So here is the inflorescence. So in the last session we have talked about roots, stem, and leaves. Okay, now here comes the inflorescence. A flower is a modified shoot wherein the shoot apical meristem changes into floral meristem and internodes do not elongate and the axis gets condensed. So what happens generally, you must have seen that the apical axis, okay, it is having like this, right? So here it is having the apical meristem. So generally apical meristem forms the new leaves, and again there is a small bud-like portion that gives you the new leaves, right? But sometime what happened, this apical meristem changes into floral meristem. Okay, this changes into floral meristem, and this floral meristem forms the flower. It forms the flower. And also we see sometimes the internode do not elongate and the axis get condensed. So what happened? What you see generally in the apical meristem. So there is a leaves, there is a bud, there's a leaf. Now this portion is the nodal portion. This is the nodal portion. And in between that we see internode. But what happened at the time of flower? So what you see in the flower? You see petals, okay? You see the sepals. There is a thalamus on which all the floral parts are arranged or attached, and there is androecium and the innermost wall, that is the pistil or the carpel. Now what we want to see here, this is the emergence of, that is the apical meristem. This leaves like part at the apical meristem changes into petals, and the lower one, that is the sepals. So there is a portion in between the petals and sepal, that is the internode. But here the internode become very much compressed. Okay, the internode do not elongate and the axis get condensed. So it means that in between the sepals and petals, there must be an internode that got compressed or condensed. Again, so this is coming out, androecium is coming out from the another nodal region. Okay, and this is due to the conversion of apical meristem to the floral meristem, right? So this at the new nodal region, instead of leaf, because has changed into floral meristem, now it is giving rise the androecium. Now androecium, in between the androecium and petal there must be an internode, again that got condensed. Now the fourth word of the flower, that is the carpel or the pistil, okay, that again get condensed. In between this androecium and this carpel, there must be an internode that again get condensed and making the flower in such a form. So this is called the floral meristem. Okay, generally these sepals, petals, androecium and pistil or carpel, they are showing that they are coming out of the nodal region. But what about the internodal region? In the internodal region, there is a condensation and it is not well developed even. The apex produces different kinds of the floral appendages laterally and successive nodes instead of leaves. So here you can see the apex produces different kinds of floral appendages. So these are the floral appendages: sepals, petals, this is stamen, and this is the pistil, pistil or carpel. Okay. So these are the floral appendages that laterally at successive node instead of leaves. They are coming out from the different nodes. The sepal is coming from one node, petal is coming from another node, stamen is coming from the another node, and the pistil is again coming from the another node. But what about the internodes in between the two nodal region? That get highly condensed. So when the shoot tip transformed into the floral, it is always solitary. Okay. When the shoot tip, that is the apical meristem. Okay. That is the showing that it is the shoot tip. Okay. And when it get transformed into a flower, it always form a solitary flower. It always forms the solitary flower. The arrangement of flower on the floral axis is termed as inflorescence. Now, there is always arrangement of the flowers on the floral axis. Suppose this is the floral axis, floral axis. So the flowers are arranged. Okay, the flowers are arranged on its axis. So this is, I'm just drawing this. Okay. So this comprises, this whole arrangement of the flower comprises the inflorescence. Inflorescence. Okay. The arrangement of flowers, it is not a flower, it is flowers, plural. On the floral axis, it is termed as inflorescence. It means that different flowers arranged on the floral axis, and that is called as inflorescence. Depending on whether the apex get developed into the flower or continues to grow. Okay. So sometime what happened, the apex, they get converted into flower. This apex get converted into flower. So this is the tip of the shoot. Okay. So that this at the apex, it get converted to flower, or it continues to grow. And sometime what happened? Now it terminates into flower. Then what happened? From the sideways, the new flower is coming out. Okay. But sometime what happened? It do not terminate in the flower, but yes, it is giving the branches in giving, and it is continuous to grow. But here it is not continuous to grow, right? It terminates into a flower or it continues to grow. So two major types of inflorescence we can see. The first is the racemose and second is the cymose. So let us see how they are. So here it is the racemose type of inflorescence. The main axis continues to grow. So this is suppose the main axis. It is continues to grow, and the lateral branches is giving out flowers. The lateral branches are giving out the flowers. Suppose this is, and it is continues to grow, and these are having all arrangement of flowers on it, as you can see in the figure also. These are the flowers. Okay, numerous flowers coming out from this, but it is again growing and growing, and laterally it is giving out new flowers, but it is growing. So the main axis continues to grow. This is the main feature of the racemose type of inflorescence, that the main axis continues to grow and flowers are born laterally in an acropetal succession. What is this acropetal succession? The mature flower is at the base. It has the base, and the new flowers are at the top. And again, this axis is continues to grow. And it is again giving lateral flowers like this. So as it gives the flowers, lateral flower, this is the new flower, right? But what about this one? This is the mature flower now, older flower, right? So this is the succession that the older or the mature one is at the base, okay? And the new flowers are emerging at the top. Then we say that this is the acropetal succession. And we see the acropetal succession in the racemose type of inflorescence. Okay, so you must remember the two things, that the main axis continues to grow. Okay, the main axis continues to grow and the flowers are born laterally. And the third thing is that the flowers are present in an acropetal succession. Now the second type is the cymose type. Okay, cymose type of inflorescence. What we see in this, in cymose type of inflorescence, the main axis terminates in a flower. So here you can see this is the main axis, this is the main axis, and it terminates into a flower. So here it is a flower, it terminates into a flower, hence it is limited in growth. So when it terminates into a flower, okay, terminates into a flower, then what happened? There is no growth here at this particular point. The growth is stopped here. It is terminating in the form of a flower. The growth is terminating in the form of a flower. Now what happened? It gives right a lateral branches from here. You can see the two lateral branches is coming out, and again these branches terminates into a flower. Now again this branch is not showing any growth further. Now it can give rise again a lateral two flowers like this. When this flower is there, then again it shows the no growth at this particular point. Then it can give rise and again another flower. So in this way you can see that the flowers are born in a basipetal order. The mature one is at this point and the new ones are emerging sideways, right? So this is showing the basipetal order. This is called as the basipetal arrangement of the flower. So racemose do not terminates in a flower. It is continuous growing, the floral axis, and the lateral flowers are coming out. Whereas in the case of cymose, the axis terminates into a flower. The axis terminates into a flower and it gave rise the lateral flowers. Okay. Now the flower is the reproductive unit in the angiosperm. So we have completed the inflorescence. Now let us talk about the flower. We are talking about individual flower in the racemose now. So the flower is the reproductive unit in the angiosperm. Angiosperm, the flowering plant, right? So what is the reproductive unit? The flower. So it is meant for the sexual reproduction. The flower is meant for the sexual reproduction. Okay, because they are having the male and female reproductive organs, so they are meant for the sexual reproduction. A typical flower has 4 different kinds of whorls. Very important. 4 whorls you can see in any flower, okay, and arranged successively on the swollen end of the stalk or a pedicel called thalamus or the receptacle. So if you see any, can draw here on the blackboard any typical flower. Okay, so here this is the receptacle, or thalamus. This part, it is called as the sepals. Sepals, okay? This is the outermost wall of a flower, and they are generally green in color. These sepals are green in color. These thalamus are also green in color. Okay? Now this is the petals. These petals could be variously colored. Sometimes it is pink, sometimes it is red, yellow, orange, depending upon the type of pigments they are having in the flower. Okay, you can see the rose they are having of the different colors. So that rose is having that type of pigment, chromatophores. Okay, so like this. So this is the sepal. Okay, the second wall from the outer side. This is the second most wall from the outer side. Okay, now moving to the inner wall, then there is androecium, or singularly it is called as stamen. This is the stamen, right? Be more in number. This is the third wall of the flower. Third wall of the flower. Now, after that, there is a stigma, there is a style, and here round part that is quite a bulbous. Okay, so that is called as ovary. That is the fourth wall of the flower. Okay, so here we can see that this is the stigma. Stigma. This is the style, and this part is the ovary, and this forms the pistil or carpel, right? Now, if we talk about the male reproductive organ, then there is, this is the anther, this is the filament, and unitedly, this is called as stamen. So, this is the first and outermost wall. Then, this is the sepals. This is the petals. Sepals is the green one. Petals. Second wall from the outside. Stamen, third wall from the outside. And pistil or carpel, fourth wall from the outside. So this is one of the typical flower I have shown you here. Okay. So moving to back to this, a typical flower have four different kinds of whorls. So with the help of diagram, I have shown you the four different kinds of whorl arranged successively on the swollen end of the stalk or a pedicel, and that is called as thalamus or the receptacle. Now these are called calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. So sepals, it is called as calyx. Unitedly, all the sepals, they are called as calyx. Petals, all the petals, unitedly it is called as corolla. Stamen, all the stamen, unitedly it is called as androecium. Okay. Pistil, Unitedly, it is called as gynoecium, right? So these are the four different whorls of any typical flower. So the calyx and corolla are the accessory organ. They are not going to be involved in the process of reproduction. So that is why they are called as accessory organ, while the androecium and gynoecium are reproductive organ. This is the male reproductive organ, male, okay, and this is the female, female, okay. So androecium is called as the male reproductive organ and the gynoecium is called as the female reproductive organ. Whereas the calyx and corolla, they are the accessory organ. So in some flowers like lily, the calyx, corolla are not distinct and are termed as perianth. So in the case of lily, these calyx and corolla are joined together and there is just one single whorl. So basically they are having the three different whorls: perianth, okay, then androecium and then gynoecium. There is no different sepals or sepals and petals. Yeah, it means that there is no differentiated calyx and corolla. They are joined together and they are called as perianth. And this you can see in the case of lily plant. When a flower has both androecium and gynoecium, it is called as bisexual flower. It means that there is a bisexual flower in which the androecium, that is the male reproductive organ, and the female reproductive organ both are present together, and that is called as bisexual flower. Now there are some flower in which only stamen or carpel is present. In one of the flower, only stamen is present. And in another flower, only carpel is present. No stamen is there. So that type of flower is called unisexual flower. It means that there is separate male and female flowers. The male flower will have only the stamens and the female flower will only have the carpels. Though calyx and corolla are there, but they are the accessory part, right? If you are talking about the male reproductive organ, then stamen, okay, one flower that is working as a male flower that do contain the calyx and corolla, but they are having only stamen. They are not having any carpels. On the contrary, there is again that is a female flower that is again having the calyx and corolla, but instead of androecium, they are having carpels only, and that is working as a female flower. Okay. Now, in symmetry, the flower may be actinomorphic, that is showing the radial symmetry, or the zygomorphic bilateral symmetry. So, there is a two type of symmetry. Okay. So, let us try to understand what is the meaning of actinomorphic. If you divide any flower from the number of axes and that divides the flower into two equal halves, okay, and this line of symmetry should pass through the center of the flower. So there are number of line of symmetry, so that is showing the radial type of symmetry, and this is the actinomorphic symmetry. Now there is a zygomorphic. There is just one single line that can divide the flower into two equal halves, and again that is passing through that center of the flower, but there is just one single line of symmetry. So that is dividing the flower into two equal halves, and that is bilateral symmetry. So any flower that is showing the bilateral symmetry, it is called as zygomorphic type of flower. Whereas the flower that is showing the radial symmetry, it is called as actinomorphic flower. Okay. Now, when a flower can be divided into two equal radial halves in any radial plane passing through the center, it is said to be the actinomorphic. Okay. So, two equal radial halves, and it is any radial plane. So there are so many radial plane you can see here. One radial plane, two radial plane, three radial plane. It means that flower can be divided from these radial planes into two equal halves. And there are so many radial planes, right? So it is called as actinomorphic. And the example of such flowers are mustard, dhatura, and chili. They are showing the actinomorphic type of symmetry. And when it can be divided into two similar halves only through one particular plane. So here you can see the flower can be divided through just one particular plane, then it is called as zygomorphic flower. And the examples of this is the pea, gulmohar, bean, and cassia fistula. Amaltas. In Hindi, we call it amaltas. And pea, that you all know, that is, in Hindi, we call it matar. Okay. As a flower is asymmetric, irregular, if it cannot be divided into two similar halves by any vertical plane passing through the center of, as it is in canna. So in the case of canna, it is showing the asymmetric. The flower cannot be divided into even two equal halves from one single plane of symmetry. That is, it is not showing any bilateral type of symmetry as well. So that is comes under the asymmetric flower, very irregular type of flower, right? The flower is very irregular and it cannot be divided into two similar halves by any vertical plane passing through the center. And this, the best example is the canna. A flower may be trimerous, tetramerous, or pentamerous when the flower appendages are in the multiple of 3, 4, or 5. Sometimes the flower is trimerous, that is 3 appendages. Tetramerous, 4 appendages. Pentamerous, 5 appendages. So if we talk about the trimerous example, then we are having lily. Okay, lily, because the sepals and petals get unitedly joined together and they are having the perianth. So perianth, stamen, and then carpel. This is the 3 appendages, right? So that is the trimerous flower. Tetramerous, the flower that is having the sepals, petals, stamen, and this carpel. Then this is the tetramerous type of flower. Pentamerous, when the flower is having apicalyx, then calyx, then petals, then stamen, and then pistil. Five whorls are there. Then it is called as pentamerous flower. So they are having the 3, 4, or 5 this appendages. Flower with bracts, reduced leaf found at the base of the pedicel. They are called as bracteate. And those with bracts, without any bracts, they are called as ebracteate. Sometimes the flowers are having some bracts. Reduced type of leaves is at the base of the pedicel. Okay, it is present at the pedicel, that is reduced type of leaf, then it is called as bracteate flower. If the bracts is present, then it is called as bracteate flower. And when there is no bract present, then it is called as ebracteate flower. Okay, it is called as ebracteate flower. Based on the position of the calyx, corolla, and androecium in respect to the ovary on the thalamus, the flower are described as hypogynous, perigynous, and epigynous. So here you can see this is the thalamus of the flower. And all the floral parts are present above the thalamus. You can see this carpel, this androecium, this petals, sepals, all are present above it. Okay, so this is called as hypogynous type of flower. Hypogynous. And here also you can see the thalamus. Okay. The thalamus is there, but the thalamus rim is quite enlarged over here. This is quite enlarged. And on these enlarged, you can see the androecium is there. That is the stamen. All the stamen unitedly called androecium. Then petals and sepals are here. But this ovary, this pistil and ovary is quite downward from the rim of the this thalamus. Okay, so B and C, they are showing the perigynous. In this also you can see the same, but here the growth is quite large as compared to this one. So this is the perigynous flower. Okay, now epigynous. Now here what you see, the ovary part is embedded. The ovary part is embedded inside the this thalamus, right? So in hypogynous, the flower, the gynoecium occupies the highest position while the other parts are situated below it. So generally we are seeing the position of the gynoecium in these three different types of this flower. Hypogynous flower means gynoecium is at the occupy at the highest position while other flowers are below to it, situated below it. The ovary in such flower is said to be superior. So gynoecium is above, okay, at the highest position. So its ovary is above every floral parts. Then it is called as superior ovary. And such type of examples like mustard, china rose, and brinjal, they are showing the hypogynous type of arrangement of flower. Very, very important point. If the gynoecium is situated in the center and other floral parts are located on the rim of the thalamus, almost at the same level, then it is called as perigynous. Okay, you must have seen that like this. It is like this. Okay, the other floral parts are present at the rim of the flower. Okay, so this is showing the perigynous. The ovary is said to be half inferior. Okay, this is showing the half inferior, plum, rose, and peach. This is in the case of perigynous. In the case of perigynous, the ovary is half inferior, plum, rose, and peach is the example. Now, in the epigynous flower, the margin of the thalamus grows upward. Okay, like this. The margin of the flower goes upward and enclosing the ovary completely. The ovary is this part. Okay, this is the androecium. Here you can see the other floral parts. This is the ovary. It is totally embedded inside the thalamus. So the epigynous, the margin of the thalamus grow upward, enclosing ovary completely and getting fused with it. The other parts of the flower arise above the ovary, and you can see above the ovary. The ovary is this and other parts are above the ovary. Hence the ovary is said to be inferior, as in flower of guava and cucumber and the ray florets of the sunflower. So this is very, very important. Every time some of the questions come from this particular part. So you must remember the hypogynous, perigynous, and epigynous type of flower. What is the condition and what are the examples of it? Okay. Okay. Now the parts of flower. Parts of flower. Each flower normally has four floral whorls, calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. So here you can see the calyx. This is the corolla part and this is the androecium and gynoecium. Okay. Outer wall, that is green in color. So they are protecting the flower when the flower is in the form of a bud. When the flower is in the form of bud, it protects the flower. And also They are doing the process of photosynthesis because they are green in color. And what about this corolla? This corolla, they are variously colored. Sometimes they are green, sometimes they are blue, red. Okay, so they are attracting the flower. Androecium. Androecium is the all the stamen united together. They are called as androecium. So they are the male reproductive organ. Similarly, the gynoecium, all the carpels unitedly, it is called as gynoecium, and that is the female reproductive organ. So calyx. Calyx is the outermost wall of the flower, and the members are called as sepals. Means there are different sepals. Different sepals. So these are sepals, but all the sepals unitedly, it is called as calyx. Generally, the sepals are green, leaf-like, and protect flower in the bud stage. The calyx may be gamosepalous. Sepals are united. Sometimes all the sepals are united like this. Okay, they are united. So this is the gamosepalous condition. And and sometimes they are free. They are not joined together. They are free. Okay. So these are called as polysepalous. Polysepalous condition. Corolla. Corolla is composed of petals. Again, these petals, these are petals. Okay. Now, when we talk all the petals together, or we discuss about all the petals together, then it is corolla. Petals are usually bright color to attract insects for the pollination. So this is the function of the petals. Now, like calyx, corolla may also be gamosepalous, petals united, or polypetalous. So petals are generally free. So as you have seen in the case of sepals, sometimes these petals are also joined together. Corolla are all joined together. So that is called as gamopetalous condition. Petals are united, and sometimes they are free. So polypetalous, that is petals are free. The shape and the color of the corolla greatly in plant, very greatly in plant. Sometimes they are having the different shapes. They are also having the different colors. Corolla may be tubular, bell shaped, funnel shaped, and or sometimes wheel shaped. So these are the about the shape of the corolla. Now, estivation, very important points. The mood of arrangement of the sepals or petals in floral bud with respect to the other members of the same world is known as estivation. So, if you are talking about how the sepals are arranged on the floral axis, so we can draw this. We can draw this like this. Okay. So this you can see this is all the sepals. So arrangement of sepals, or sometimes we talk about the petals also in floral bud with respect to the other members of the same whorl. Okay, these are the other members. If this is the first, then this is the second, this is the third, this is the fourth, this is the fifth. But all are these are the sepals, right? Same whorl is known as estivation. So let us see what are the different types of estivation. So here we can see the first one is the valvate estivation. The margin is not touching, but all are at the same position. Here you can see, right? Now, the second type is the twisted. Now, here you can see every end is twisted and it is quite above the another sepal's end. Here you can see, again here you can see, here you can see, here you can see. So this is the twisted type of estivation. Okay. Now here what you see, one of this is downward and one it is ahead. At one, it is downward. Here it is downward. This margin is ahead. Now, these two are, one is at both the margin, it is above, and this, it is at both the margin, it is under. Okay. So, this is called as imbricate estivation. Vexillary, very, very different type of, you can see here. The sepals, the petals, sometimes they are joined together. This is the joined one. These are the joined one. And this is the wing type. And this again joined one. So this is a very, very different type of this estivation that is called as vexillary. So let us see this in detail. When sepals or petals in the world just touch one another at the margin without overlapping, okay? No overlapping is there. No overlapping is there. And such we see in the case of calotropis, it is said to be valvate estivation. The first one, the diagram that shows like this. Okay, so this is the valvate estivation without any overlapping. And the best example is the calotropis. In Hindi, we call it madar. That is used for god Shankar to offer this flower. Okay, and if one margin of the appendages overlap that of the next one, and so in the China rose, ladyfinger, and cotton. So here what happened? This overlaps to this, this overlaps to this overlaps to this, and this overlaps to this. So this overlapping you can see here. Here there was no overlapping, but here you can see the overlapping in the twisted, and that is why they got the name twisted, right? Twisted type of estivation. If the margins of the sepals or petals overlap one another, but not any particular direction, as you can see in the case of twisted, they are this overlapping is in a particular direction, right? But here the margins and sepals are overlapping, but not in any pattern or any particular direction. Then we see that in the case of cassia and gulmohar, the estivation is called as imbricate type of estivation. In case of pea and bean flower, there are 5 petals. The largest, that is called as standard, overlap the lateral 2 petals. This is the largest, overlaps the 2 lateral petals, that is called as wings, which in turn overlap the 2 smallest anterior, that is called as keel. Okay, so this is the keel. These two are joined together, the smallest one. These 2 petals joined together, that is forming the keel. And these 2 that are not joined together, but yes, they are present like this. Okay, this is called as wings. And this, the standard one, this is the standard largest one, that is called as largest petal, that is also called as standard. Okay, now this type of estivation is known as vexillary or papilionaceous. It is also called as vexillary or papilionaceous. Okay, next is about androecium. So androecium is composed of a stamen. If we talk about the androecium, then there is a group of stamen that comes as a androecium. All the androecium, when you talk about, then it is called, or in a flower, then it is called androecium. So each stamen is represented the male reproductive organ consisting of a stalk or a filament and the anther. So this is stalk-like structure, that is called as filament, and this is the anther. Okay. Now in the anther, Pollen grains are present when this anther all the pollen grains are released in the environment. So each anther is usually a bilobe and each lobe has two chambers and that is called as pollen sac. So I'll just cut the transverse section of any uh, this anther part. Then what we see, okay, we can see this pollen grain inside it. So this is two pollen chambers. This is one chamber and this is one chamber. And each chamber, there are two theca. Okay. The pollen grains are produced in the pollen sac. These theca are also called as pollen sac. Okay. A sterile stamen is called as staminode. So they sometimes what happened, the stamen are not able to develop the pollen grain, and in that case they are called as staminode. Stamens of flower may be united with other members such as petals or among themselves. Sometimes the stamens are united. So suppose this is the petals and stamens are united with it. There is a joining of this petals and androecium. Okay, so when the stamens are attached to the petals, they are called as epipetalous, as we can see in the case of brinjal. It is called as epipetalous or epiphyllous when attached to the perianth. So we have already talked about the perianth that we have seen in the case of lily. Sepals and petals get united, okay, and they are called as perianth. And when the stamens get attached to this perianth, it is called as epiphyllous condition. Okay, epiphyllous and epipetalous, you must remember. So epiphyllous condition is seen in question can be asked. So what will be the answer? Lily. In the case of lily, you see the epiphyllous condition. Whereas the epipetalous, it means that sepals and petals are not joined together and forming the perianth. They are individual sepals and individual petals. And this stamen is joined with the petals, then it is called as epipetalous condition, and that you see in the case of brinjal. The stamens in a flower may be either remain free or may be united in a varying degree. So all this stamens are free. They are not joined together in any way. So that is called as polyandrous condition. That is called as polyandrous condition. But sometimes the stamens are joined or in a bunch or in a bundle, right? The stamens may be united into one bunch or one bundle. They are called as monoadelphous. So here you can see, okay. So this is, okay. So all these are the stamens. All the stamens, you can see it is arranged on one singular tube-like structure, and that is called as monoadelphous condition. And this you see in the case of China rose, or sometime in the two bundles, that is in the diadelphous condition. That is in the case of pea. Now what happened in the pea? There are nine androeciums, or you can say nine stamen, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So all these nines are in one group. Okay. And one of these stamen is quite larger. So 9 plus 1. 9 is forming one group and 1 is alone. So that is forming the two groups, diadelphous condition, and this you see in the case of pea plant. Or into more than two bundles, that is polyadelphous, that is in you see in the case of China rose. Okay, they are present in many groups, different groups, so they are called as polyadelphous. So you must remember this. When all these stamens are free, they are called as polyandrous. When they are forming one bunch or one bundle, that is the monoadelphous, and that you see in the case of China rose. Two bundles, that you see in the case of pea plant, and sometimes they are present in more than two bundles or many bundles, then they are called as polyadelphous, that you see in the case of citrus. Now there may be variation in the length of the filament within a flower, as in you see in the case of salvia and mustard. So in this case of salvia and mustard, some stamen are quite larger and some are quite smaller. So this type of arrangement you see in the case of salvia and mustard. Now let us talk about the gynoecium. Very, very important, gynoecium. Gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower, and it is made up of one or more carpels. Very, very important. It is either made up of one or more carpels. So the carpel consists of three parts, namely stigma, style, and ovary. So if you draw any carpel, then there is a stigma, there is a style, and there is a ovary. This is stigma. This is the style part, and this is the ovary. Okay. Now the style connects the ovary to the stigma. So this part is style. It is connecting this, the first part, that is the style, to the ovary. The stigma is usually at the tip of the style, and it is a receptive surface for the pollen grain. So this stigma, it helps the plants to receive this pollen grain. Any pollen grain comes and it germinates on this stigma part, okay, and its pollen tube emerges this uh, stigma and goes downward through this style part and reaches to the ovary, right? So this is very, very important, that working as a receptive surface to receive the pollen grain. Now, each ovary bears one or more ovules attached to the flattened cushion-like placenta. Okay, every ovule. Now, if we draw the ovule, I'm just drawing this ovary part, and inside the ovary, you can see the ovule. The ovule is like this. This is the embryo sac, and this is the thalamus. Okay, so each ovary bears one or more ovules attached to the flattened cushion-like placenta. So here, when it is attached to this thalamus, there is a flattened disc-like structure that is called as placenta. When more than one carpel is present, they may be free. Okay, all the carpels are free, as we can see in the case of lotus and in the case of rose, and are called as apocarpals. Such condition, when all the carpels, one carpel is present and they are free, then they are called as apocarpus condition. All the carpels are free. They are not joined together. So such condition is called as apocarpus. So they are termed as syncarpus when carpels are fused. But sometimes what happens? Carpels are fused together, and they are called as syncarpus. Apocarpus. So two types of this arrangement of the gynoecium is there. That is the syncarpus and apocarpus. Two conditions are there, syncarpus and apocarpus. Now what happens in the case of syncarpus? The carpels are fused. The carpels are fused. And here the carpels are not united together. They are free carpels. That is apocarpous condition. Syncarpous carpels are fused. And this you can see fused carpels in the case of mustard and tomato. After fertilization, the ovules develops into the seeds and the ovary matures into fruit, right? After the fertilization, this changes, you can see the ovary is changes into fruit and the ovules develops into the seeds. Now we talk about the placentation. Very important point, placentation. The arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. How the ovules are arranged within the ovary, they are known as placentation. The placentation are of different types, namely marginal, axial, parietal, basal, central, and free central. Okay. So there are so many different types of placentation we can see. So let us see one by one. In marginal placentation, the placenta forms a ridge along the ventral suture of the ovary and the ovules are born on the ridges. So here you can see. Okay. They are arranged on the margins. They are attached on the margins of the ovules. So these are the ovules that changes into seeds and this is the ovary. So they are arranged as the margin of the ovary. In marginal placentation, the placenta forms the ridge along the ventral suture of the ovary and the ovules are born on this ridge forming two rows as in the case we see in the case of P. When the placenta is axial and the ovules are attached to in multilocular ovary, the placentation is said to be as an axial. You can see in the case of China rose, tomato, and lemon. So when you cut the lemon, what you see? You see like this, okay? And here the seeds are arranged like this. The case of tomato also, such type of arrangement you can see. This is the wall and this is how they are arranged. So this is called as axial placentation. Axial placentation, right? In parietal placentation, the ovules develop on the inner wall of the ovary or on the peripheral part. Okay, the ovules are on the peripheral part like this, inner wall of the ovary. So that is the parietal placentation. And ovary is one chambered, but it becomes two chambered due to the formation of false septum. False septum. Generally, the ovary is one chambered. The ovules are there, but sometimes what happens? It forms a false this septum, and it becomes two chambered in that case. So when you cut this split the mustard seed, you can see that false septum like this. Okay, the seeds are there like this, and here also, but there is one a wall like things, and that is a membranous wall. Okay, that is called as false septum, and this is the examples of the mustard and archimony. When the ovules are born on the central axis and the septa are absent, as in the case of dianthus and primrose, the placentation is called free central. This is called free central. Very important. No septa is there. Okay, and septa are absent. So then it is called as central axis. Example are the dianthus and primrose. In basal placentation, the placenta develops at the base of the ovary and a single ovule is attached to it, as we see in the case of sunflower and marigold. Okay, like this. In the case of marigold and sunflower. So that is called as base of the ovary. It is attached to the base of the ovary. So this is called as the basal placentation. Basal presentation. Example you must remember in every type of presentation. Now comes the fruit. After the fertilization, there is a formation of fruit. So the fruit is a characteristic feature of the flowering plant. Any flowering plant, if you see after the fertilization, what is formed there? The fruit. The fruit is formed. So it is mature or a ripened ovary. Yes, when fruit after fertilization, the ovary changes to fruit, and inside the ovary there are ovules that changes to seeds. This changes you see after fertilization. After fertilization. After fertilization. Okay. So it is, we see this in the case of mature or ripened ovary develop after the fertilization. If a fruit is formed without fertilization of the ovary, it is called as parthenocarpic fruit. So sometime what happened? Due to the increase of some this hormones that favors the formation of fruit. Okay, there is no fertilization, but still the ovary changes to the fruit. The ovary changes to the fruit. So that is called as parthenocarpic fruit. That type of fruit is called as parthenocarpic fruit. But yes, there are flowers. There are flowers that after fertilization, there we see the changes, and there the seeds are formed. That is after the fertilization. But in the case of parthenocarpic fruit, as there is no fertilization, the ovules will not changes to seeds. So that is we see in the case of parthenocarpic fruit. So generally the fruit consists of a wall or a pericarp and seeds. So if we talk about a true fruit, then it must contain a pericarp, the outer covering of any fruit that is called as pericarp, and it is having the seeds. The pericarp may be dry or fleshy. In some fruits, the pericarp is dry, and some fruit it is fleshy. So when pericarp is thick and fleshy, it is differentiated into epicarp, the middle mesocarp, and the inner endocarp. Okay, the pericarp can be divided into outer, epicarp, middle mesocarp, and inner endocarp. Three layers. Pericarp is showing the three different layers. So here you can see in the case of this is a fleshy fruit. Okay, mango is a fleshy fruit. This is the dry. Okay, now here you can see the epicarp, this outer covering that is called as epicarp. Okay, and this is the mesocarp, and this is the seed, but this black color lining that is called as endocarp. So three layers. The pericarp is divided into three layers. So these two are the fruit that is called as drupe. Okay, these are called as a drupe. The mango and the coconut is a fruit known as drupe. But here what you see, this is called as mesocarp, the husk that is present all over it. Okay, this white color is the seed, and this stony, this layer that is called as endocarp. So where is this epicarp? So if you see the green color coconut, it is like this, right? It is having the smooth surface, and when this smooth surface is showing the epicarp. And when this smooth surface remove, your coconut is like this. It is having the brown covering. So that is there. When you remove this smooth epicarp, then that is the mesocarp. This is showing the mesocarp. And below it, there is a brown colored stony part, right? That is the endocarp. And below the endocarp, there is a white colored seed part. So both are showing the drupe fruit. You must remember this. Okay. So they develop from the monocarpellary superior ovaries and are one-seeded. Always the drupe develops from the monocarpellary superior ovaries. Okay. They develop from the monocarpellary superior ovaries and they are one-seeded. Only one seed is there. You must have seen in the case of mango, only one seed. And in the case of this coconut also. In mango, the pericarp is well differentiated into an outer thin epicarp, middle fleshy, that is the edible part, mesocarp, and the inner stony hard endocarp, right? This we see in the case of mango. In coconut, which is also a drupe, the mesocarp is fibrous. Here you can see the mesocarp is edible, but here the mesocarp is fibrous. And the endocarp is very stony brown color, thick layer, and inside the endocarp there is a seed. So here only the seed is the edible part, right? But here in the case of mango, what is the edible part? What is the edible part? Mesocarp is the edible part. This you must remember. The ovules after fertilization develops into seed. Now, how we are talking about the seeds, how the seeds are formed here. Okay, so the ovules after the fertilization develops into the seed. There is a formation of seed after the fertilization. Now, the seed is made up of seed coat and an embryo. So, if you see any seed, suppose this is a seed, it is having a coat over it. Either you can see the gram seed. Okay, it is having a brown color coat. So that is called as seed coat. And when you soak this gram in water, what happened? This emerges out, and after that, shoot also emerges out. That is plumule part, and this is the radical part. So this whole part is called as the embryo, which is present in this seed. The embryo is made up of the radical and the embryonal axis, and one as in wheat and maize, and the two cotyledons as in the case of gram and pea. So there are the two cotyledons in the case of gram and pea plant, whereas one cotyledon, that is the monocotyledonous plant, as we see in the case of wheat and maize. Okay, let us see the detailed structure of a dicotyledonous seed. So there are two types of seeds, monocotyledonous seeds and dicotyledonous seed, right? So the outermost covering of a seed is the seed coat. Okay, any seed is having the covering over it, then it is called as the seed coat. The seed coat has two layers. Okay, generally, we do not see that two layer, but this seed coat is having the two layers. The outer layer is called as testa and the inner layer is called as tegumen. Okay, seed coat, outer is testa and the inner is tegumen. So all these are very important. Sometimes it can be asked in the multiple type of a statement question, that this statement can be given as the seed coat has two layers, the outer tegumen and the inner testa. So this statement becomes wrong. So that is why I'm just writing in this form. The seed coat, outer is the testa and the inner is the tegumen. This you must remember, right? Sorry. The hilum is a scar on the seed coat through which the developing seeds were attached to the fruit. Okay, so here you can see this the scar. It is called as a hilum. So that seed is attached to the fruit. There is an attachment point. Okay, it is not present lonely in the this in the ovary. Okay, in the fruit. So this seed is attached to the wall of the fruit, and that is called as a scar. Okay, that is a demarcation, that is the scar, and that is called as hilum. Above the hilum is a pore called micropyle. So this is the micropyle, and this is the hilum. When the seed coat is the embryo, consisting of an embryonal axis and the two cotyledons. Okay, within the seed coat there is an embryo. Inside the seed coat there is an embryo, and it consists of one embryonal axis and two cotyledons. So here you can see two cotyledons. So this is the embryonal axis, and these two are the cotyledons. When you remove this seed coat, you can see the gram seed or any other seed like this of the dicot. The cotyledons are often fleshy and full of reserve food material. Okay, so this cotyledon is having lot of reserve food material. So when the seed is germinating, this food material gets solubilized and it becomes available to this uh, developing embryo. It becomes available to the developing embryo. Okay, so here you can see the structure of the dicotyledonous seed. At the two ends of the embryonal axis are present the radicle and the plumule. So here you can see the seed coat, brown color. This is the hilum, and above the hilum there is a mark that is called as micropyle. Now this is the two cotyledons. Okay, these are the two cotyledons, cotyledon 1, cotyledon 2, and here you can see the embryonal axis. Now this embryonal axis is showing the two part, that is the plumule and radicle. Plumule and radicle, right? So these are the two cotyledons and these are the two this is one embryonal axis that is having the plumule and radicle. Now plumule give rise to the shoot, and radicle give rise to the root. In some seeds such as castor, the endosperm formed as a result of double fertilization. Okay, as we see in the case of angiospermic, there is a double fertilization, right? And what is formed after the this double fertilization? At first fertilization, that is syngamy. Okay, and that forms the zygote. Zygote forms the embryo. Okay, formation of zygote, then it forms the embryo. Now there is a triple fusion. Okay, and there is a formation of endosperm. And these syngamy and triple fusion unitedly, it is called as double fertilization. Right? So in some seeds such as castor, the endosperm formed as a result of double fertilization. There is a food storing tissue and called endospermic seed. Okay, this endosperm is food storing tissue. Okay, this is a food storing tissue and it stores all the food material. So if the endosperm is storing all the food material, right, then we say that the seed is endospermous. Endospermous. In plants such as bean, gram, pea, the endosperm is not present in mature seeds. Okay? In mature seeds, the endosperm is not present. Such seeds are called as non-endospermous. Okay, so on the basis of the presence of endosperm presence and the absence of endosperm, the seeds can be endospermic seed when the endosperm is present, and when the endosperm is absent, it is called as non-endospermous. So generally the monocotyledonous seeds are endospermic. Okay. So there are two types of seeds, monocotyledonous and dicotyledonous. Monocotyledonous seeds are endospermic, but as in the case of orchids, they are non-endospermic. So orchid is again the monocotyledonous plant. But if you talk about the other endospermic uh, seeds, okay, other endospermic seeds, in the case of monocotyledonous, they are all having the endosperm in it. All the monocotyledonous are having the seeds are having the endosperms in it. But in the case of orchid, the seeds are non-endospermic. This is the exception. And always in the examination, exception is asked. So you must remember this. In the seeds of cereals such as maize, the seed coat is membranous and generally fused with the fruit wall. The endosperm is bulky and it stores a lot of food material in it. The outer covering of the endosperm separates the embryo by the proteinaceous layer that is called as aleuron layer. Okay, so here the endosperms get separated by the embryo by a proteinaceous layer that is called as aleuron layer. So the wall of the ovary and the seeds, they get fused. Okay, so you cannot say that this is the fruit and this is the seed. It get fused with it. And when you see the internal structure, then you see the endosperms that is get separated by the embryo by a proteinaceous layer that is called as aleuron layer. The embryo is a small and situated groove at the end of the endosperm. Okay, embryo is quite small, very small, and it is situated in a groove at the end of the endosperm, and it consists one large shield shaped cotyledon known as scutellum. So the cotyledon of the this endospermic seed, or you can say the monocotyledonous seed, then it is a scutellum and short axis with the plumule at the radicle. So here you can see this structure. This is the monocot seed. So this part, this above part, it is called as endosperm. Now here, this is the embryo part. This lower part is the embryo part. Now here you can see the endosperm and embryo is divided by this aleuron layer. Aleuron layer. Aleuron layer, right? And here you can see the seed coat and fruit wall. It is fused together. Endosperm, and this is the embryo. This is the endosperm, this is embryo. And here this part you can see scutellum. This is cotyledon. Cotyledon. So how much different you see in the case of dicot and monocot. In the case of dicot, you see the cotyledon stores the food material. Here the endosperm is storing the food material. This is the difference. And here you can see the coleoptile, which is covering, protecting the plumule region. So this is the plumule, and above it you can see the 2-3 covering, and that is called as coleoptile. In the same way, there is a radicle, and above the radicle there is a layer that is protecting the radicle, and that is called as coleorhiza. Coleorhiza. Various morphological. Okay, now comes the semi-technical description of a typical flowering plant. Let us talk about a typical flowering plant. So before that, there are some terms that we must remember. So the various morphological features are used to describe a flowering plant. So let us see those morphological features. The description has to be brief, in a simple and scientific language, and presented in a proper sequence. So whatever you describe, okay, a flowering plant, that should be in a scientific language. That should not be in a local or a common language. That should be in a scientific language, and it is presented in a proper sequence. That after, first of all, you will talk about the root, then you will talk about the stem, then you will talk about the leaf, and then you move to the reproductive part, that is the flower. It should not be like this: root, leaf, flower, then comes the stem. No, it should be in a proper sequence, right? The plant is described beginning with its habit. So first of all, you will talk about what is the plant habit, okay? And then you talk about its vegetative characters. What is the vegetative characters of the plant? You will talk about roots, then you will talk about its stem, then you will talk about its leaves, okay? And then the floral characters, inflorescence, and the floral parts as well, okay? So like this, you will talk about the floral characters. We have already discussed the floral characters, what type of inflorescence it is having, whether a cymose or racemose. Then you will tell about the floral parts. What are the floral parts? Whether it is having a trimerous, tetramerous, or pentamerous type of flower. Okay, the number of whorls they are having the floral this flower. After describing the various parts of the plant, you should draw a floral diagram. Very, very important. Floral diagram of a flower. And also write the floral formula to present it. The floral formula is represented by a symbol. This is going to be a very interesting and very, very important as well. So the floral formula, so let us see here. If the flower is bracteate, it is flower is having the bracts, bracteate. That is the presence of bract, presence of bracts. Then you should write BR. Okay, BR. And calyx, obviously the flower is must have the calyx. So the calyx is represented by C. And BR stand for, and K stand for, calyx is stand for K, and corolla. Corolla, that is by C. That you represented by C. And perianth, if it is having calyx and corolla in the fused form, then it is called as perianth. Okay, perianth. Then you should write it P. P for perianth. And if you are writing about androecium, okay, androecium, then you should write A, representing the androecium. Similarly, gynoecium, gynoecium, it is represented by G. Okay, G. If the gynoecium is having this superior ovary, ovary is superior. We have already talked about superior ovary. When ovary in this condition, the ovary is present at the top of the other floral part, it is coming from downward this, then petals, then sepals. Okay, this is ovary is present at superiorly over the thalamus. Then it is called as perikynous. Okay, so superior ovary, how you represent it? You represent it, you will write capital G and it should be underlined like this. Then it represent the superior ovary. But what in case of inferior ovary? Inferior, then it will be represented as G and the underlined is overhead. Then it is called as inferior ovary, right? Okay. Now there is a, if the flower is having a male reproductive flower or the flower is male, okay, so you will write male flower like this. Male flower. And the female flower then? Female flower. And some, the flower is bisexual as well as. Okay, there are some bisexual flower. So how you write bisexual? Bisexual flower. It is represented as like this. This is showing the bisexual flower. Now, we also talked about the actinomorphic. Actinomorphic. What was the actinomorphic? The flower can be cut into two equal halves with the number of symmetry. Okay. So, it is represented as like this. Actinomorphic. And if the flower can be divided into just two equal halves and it is having just one plane of symmetry, there is one single plane of symmetry through which you can cut the flower into two equal halves, then it is called as zygomorphic. Zygomorphic. Percentage sign. Zygomorphic. Okay. Now, the fusion is indicated by enclosing the figure with the brackets and adhesion by the line. Okay. So, sometimes there is a fused polypetalous. So, you can write like this. Petals are there. So, corolla, C5, they are all fused. Okay. You will write in under bracket and then it shows the within bracket, right? And if it is androecium is attached with this corolla, then it should be overhangs like this. Okay, so let us see here. So the floral diagram provides the information about the number of parts of flower, their arrangement and the relation they have with the another. So here it is represented by one of the floral diagram. Okay, this diagram is very important. So this is showing the mother axis. The flower is attached to any axis that is called as mother axis. Mother axis. And this is the outermost wall, that is the sepal. So here you can see it is showing the estivation, right? Two are inside and two are outside, right? So this is the sepal. Now inside it is showing the petals. So they are arranged at as marginal. So showing the marginal placentation. Okay, this is the petals, or you can say sepal. This is one sepal and all the sepals unitedly it is called as calyx. Similarly, this is one petal, all petals unitedly it is called as corolla. Now here you can see this. Okay, two of the anther are present outside and two of the anthers are present inside. So This is the androecium. And how it is written here, you can see androecium, 2 outer side plus 4 inner side. 2 arrangement are there, right? And this you see in the case of this calyx. If you see the calyx, how it is arranged? Calyx, it is written as 2 plus 2. 2, it is outer side. This is outer side. And 2, it is inner side. So 2 plus 2, right? This is showing this marginal estimation. Then it is C4. Okay. Now, what type of symmetry you can see? Actinomorphic. So you will write this actinomorphic symbol, and it is bisexual flower. Both male reproductive part and female reproductive part it is having. So you can write it like this, bisexual. Okay. So 2 plus 4. Now let us see about the gynoecium. So it is superior ovary and 2 gynoeciums are fused together. So G superior and 2, and both are fused. The both are present in one locule here. It is. So it is written like this. So you have to represent the arrangement of the flower in 2 ways. One in the case of floral diagram and also in the case of floral formula. So the position of the mother axis with respect to the flower is represented by a dot on the top of the floral diagram that we have already discussed, right? And the calyx and corolla and gynoecium are drawn in the successive whorls. And you can see the whorls, they are also representing the type of estivation they are having, right? So calyx being the outermost and the gynoecium being the in the center. So how they are arranged, their whorls are arranged, that also it represent this floral diagram. The floral formula also shows the cohesion and adhesion within parts of the whorls and between the whorls. Okay, if C is attached to A, then you see this cohesion. Okay, and if all this corolla are fused together and 5 in number, then you write it like this. So it is also representing the cohesion and adhesion thing. The floral diagram and floral formula represent here in the mustard plant. So this is the representation of the mustard plant that is comes under the family Brassicaceae. Again, that is the same diagram, actinomorphic, bisexual flower, okay, K2 plus 2, C4, and androecium 2 plus 4. This is called diadelphous condition. So what is that? Let us see here with the help of a diagram. One anther, outer side, okay. Now 4 inner, 4 of one size and 4 are present inside like this. Okay, so that is why it is called as 2 plus 4. 2 it is present outside and 4 it is present inside. So 2 plus 4. And gynoecium, it is superior ovary, so it is underlined G underline like this, and both these they are fused together, so 2 in bracket like this you represent. So here we are having one of the family in your syllabus that is called as Solanaceae. Okay, so let us see this. It is a large family commonly called as potato family. So potato is a very common member of this family, right? Potato is there, the chili is there, okay, and a McCoy is there. Then we are having brinjal is there. Okay, they all tomato all belongs to this Solanaceae family. So it is a large family and it is commonly called as potato family. and it is widely distributed in the tropics, subtropics, and temperate zone. So it is talking about its habit. It is talking about its habit. So in we have talked about earlier that when you describe a family, you should go step by step for its description. So they are distributed in the tropical countries and also subtropical countries, as well as in the temperate zone also, right? Now let us see the vegetative characters. Okay, plant mostly herbs. They are not very strong. They are generally herbs. The one that is herbs, shrubs, and rarely small trees. Sometimes they are shrub also, and sometimes they are small trees in form. Stem. If you talk about the stem, then it is herbaceous and rarely woody. Woody, that could be you see in the case of small tree, and that is rarely, so rarely woody. Aerial, they are present in the air. Erect, they are not that is creeping or crawling on the surface of the soil. Okay, they are erect in position. Cylindrical, if you see the structure of the stem, then they are cylindrical. Branched, solid or hollow. Sometimes they are solid, sometimes they are hollow as well. Hairy or glabrous. If you see the stem structure now, they are sometimes hairy and sometimes glabrous. No hair is there. Underground stem in potato. Sometimes you can see in the case of potato that they are forming the tuber-like things. These underground stem. Okay. And that is the Solanum tuberosum, and that is tuber, this giving the species name tuberosum. Okay, so again, stem is herbaceous, rarely woody, aerial, erect, cylindrical, branched, and solid or hollow. Sometimes solid, sometimes hollow. Sometimes they are having the hair, so that is why they are called as hairy stem. Sometimes it is glabrous, no hair is there. And the stem, sometime in some plants, not in all, in some plants, they are underground. And that is you see in the case of potato, Solanum tuberosum. If you talk about the leaves, then they are alternate, simple, rarely pinnately compound. Sometime in some plant you see they are pinnately compound. Exstipulate, no stipule is there, exstipulate. And venation is reticulate, dicotyledonous, so reticulate type of venation. So this is about the stem and leaves of it. Now if you talk about the floral characters, then what you see? Inflorescence, solitary. In some plant you see the inflorescence is solitary, only one single flower. Sometimes it is axillary or cymose, as you see in the case of solanum. So solanum is showing the cymose type of inflorescence. But in some plant you see the solitary type of inflorescence. Flower is bisexual. Bisexual, it means that both the male and female reproductive organ are present on the same flower, and they are actinomorphic. Flower is actinomorphic. Yes, this is the symbol that you must write when you are writing the floral formula. Calyx. Sepals are 5. That is the number of sepals. Sepals are 5. United. All the sepals are united. Persistent. Persistence and valvate type of estivation you see. So this is about the calyx. Now if you talk about the corolla, then petals, again they are having the 5 petals. They are also united and they are also showing the valvate type of estivation. Valvate type of estivation. Androecium, 5 stamens and epipetalous. They are showing the epipetalous condition. Now, if you see the gynoecium, then they are bicarpellary, obligately placed. syncarpus, and ovary is superior. Okay, ovary is superior. Bilocular, two locules are there, and in each locule you can see the ovules. Placenta swollen and with many ovules, and axile placentation. So this is about the gynoecium. If you talk about the fruits, then berry or capsule. In some plant you see the berry type of fruit, and in some plant you see the capsule. Seeds. Seeds are many in number and all are endospermous. See the floral formula: actinomorphic, bisexual flower. Okay, K5, C5, A5, G underline, that is superior, and 2. So this is the floral formula of the Solanaceae family. Now, what is the economic importance? How this plant is economically important to us? How this plant is economically important to us? Many plants belong to this family are source of food. Okay, many plants belong to this family. They provide us food like tomato, brinjal, and potato. They are providing us food. Sometimes this spice also we get in the form of chili, medicine, belladonna, ashwagandha, that all belongs to this family only. Fumigatory, tobacco plant is also belong to this Solanaceae family. And some ornamental plants like petunia, that also belongs to the Solanaceae family, right? So this is all about this session. Okay, thank you very much for attending the session.